Hello and welcome to In Other Waters. This is an indie game that came out about 3 years ago. And I don't know much about it, but I do know a few things. It has to do with exploring water, I think on another planet. I don't know if it's underwater or just on the surface of the water. I'm not completely sure. And rather than something like Subnautica, a game that's in first person, where it's an action adventure survival game, where you kind of journey around and swim around, and that's who you are. In this game, you're like a guiding force. I think you're supposed to be like an AI that's like assisting the actual person or robot or whatever's doing the exploring. And so instead of that kind of hyper-realistic type of graphics and interface that something like Subnautica has, this is much more simulation, almost management kind of a thing. But it has this really interesting graphical interface, and because of that, it's also supposed to be very relaxing. And it's interesting. No one has ever heard of this game, but like all the games I play. But the developer went on 2 years later, so a year ago, to make Citizen Sleeper, an amazing game from what I hear that I also haven't played, that's also in my library. And that game did get enough popularity that it's getting a sequel. So this was not their breakout game, but this was their first major project. And it really does look quite interesting. I think it's going to be relaxing. I think it's going to be fun. It may not be perfect, so some of it may be a little frustrating or not well balanced or unnecessarily punishing or unnecessarily easy. But overall, I think it's going to be a really memorable and relaxing experience. Let's check it out. Baikal Exoplanet Extraction. Transitioning, please wait. And I hope the FPS is alright too. This is in full screen and it is a low enough resolution. A jump over the age game. Looks alright so far. Created, designed, and written by Gareth Damian Martin. And I hope I pronounced that correctly. Music and sound by Amos Roddy. Brody? I'm so bad at pronouncing names. Even my own name I can barely pronounce properly. And I know how to pronounce it. Additional programming by Chris Payne. So really small studio it's looking like. Which makes sense, it isn't an indie game studio. In Other Waters. And I've heard very good things about this game just from reading the reviews from supposed bio error detected. Oh, that's not good. Biologists? Oceanic biologists? What's the term? Marine biologists. Log recovered. Recovering last known log, dated 2189. User and sensorium disabled. There isn't any time left. This is going to be more restrictive than you're used to, but you're resourceful, I know you. I'm sorry, Oki, but I can't let them find you. I can't lose everything we achieved. Ooh, okay, there's a bit of a mystery going on here. Can't let them find you. And you can tell it's kind of a very indie game by the fact that it says click or A. Presume depending on what system. Hello, pilot, hello, is someone there? Ooh. And I love this. This is the map. And this is the interface. This is Dr. Ellery Voss. I currently need all systems of the suit Activating. It's such a unique interface. I've been locked out, and I'm 20 meters below the surface here. That does sound like a dilemma. I say again, this is Dr. Ellery Voss. Can any operator personas on this suit please respond? Ah. I'm assuming... Okay. I'm assuming this is like yes and this is no, but it's so minimal. I love it. Alright, good. Operator, activate all, something, something, something. Systems, I assume. Utility power. Utility. Okay, utility is available. Let's see. Sampling, sample storage, terminal, and retrieval seem to be installed. I assume this would just skip kind of the wait, but power. The power panel is activating. Plenty of juice. Oxygen panel is up, and rebreather are functioning. I'm off reserve oxygen now. Excellent. Heading. I'm seeing the heading panel coming online. Excellent. Depth, 20 meters. Yep, the dive panel is active. Currently reading of 20 meters. Current reading of 20 meters. So here's a game, and I'm just going to throw this out here because I talk so much about game design. Like many smaller indie games, there isn't voice acting. And that can be good and that can be bad. I assume there's going to be a lot of dialogue going on. At least one-sided dialogue. And from an experience where I'm sitting in a room playing this by myself, it's often nice to hear a voice. It is. It's comforting. You have someone, even when you can't respond, you have someone just talking to you. I mean, there's entire games about that. There's movies about that. It's a trope. But it's nice. And even I don't want to say non-professional, even amateur voice actors can often do a decent job with a simple enough script, especially with monologue. Monologue is not necessarily as hard as dialogue. To perfect it may be, but just for bare bones, something simple and believable, someone just talking. Not too hard. And often you can even get just one of the several developers to do that. On the other hand, for someone like me, where I'm here and I'm streaming this game and I'm talking about it, reading text dialogue is just very common, and that kind of adds something. It puts you into the story too. Scan and topography readouts coming through, looking good. And that, I enjoy that. So to me, not having dialogue, not having a voice actor makes games like this. You don't seem to know what you're doing. You're not an operator, are you? No. Then what are you? Why are you installed in this suit? Help me out here. What am I? I knew there was something strange about this suit when I got inside. It looks decades old. Okay, I can't just hit those arbitrarily. Look, we don't have time for this. So whatever program or system you are, I need you to work with me. But overall, I do think this game could benefit from voice acting for a larger audience, broader audience. You seem to respond to voice commands, so that's a start. We need to head north. There's something about sitting back and just looking at this beautiful, minimalistic readout and just hearing someone's voice. I'll explain, I assume, and I'll explain when we get going, but right now, something. Someone has rewritten the permissions to only respond to internal messaging. That means you. Interesting. If you're watching this video, you're looking at this beautiful, and I'm not even an amateur voice actor. I've only recorded a couple things. I am a novice. So I'm going to need you to take control. Let's get moving. Please. All right. It's not going to give me any tooltips or hints, which is, for a larger game, would be considered lazy and bad design, But for a minimalist game like this, it wants everything to be kind of obvious, and if it isn't, it's something you figure out. It's an idea that really got popularized by several games, but Hyper Light Drifter, it might be 2016, was one of them. Very, very few even words, just lots of symbols. Well, sure don't know what that does. Or that one. Or that one. Okay, what if we try... Oh. I think this is like a scanner, maybe? Very cool. Oh. Whoa. Okay. That's... the Southern Gully. Feature observation. Steep rock walls rise up toward the surface on either side. The floor is layered with pale sand. This is what I mean. This is... I'm already getting that sense of exploration, and it's being advanced by the fact that I don't even know what any of these buttons do. But I know I'm going to learn it and figure it out, and then I'm just going to have this really simple, beautiful, elegant... Alright, we have a clear vector. Oh, okay, so if we do that, that plots it. And then we're traversing along the vector to the point. Ah. Good, whatever you were doing, it's working. Let's keep heading north. Sounds good. Perform a scan. That's this one here. And this is, will this zoom in and out perhaps? Ah, it does, but that... Interesting. That's, I mean, that's zooming everything. That's not like zooming in just on the center like a magnifying glass. This is just like me getting closer to the screen. Fascinating, okay. Let's have a look at this. Narrow pass, feature, observations. A boulder fills the passage, blocking out the warm light of Gliese 667 CC's 3 stars. Well, auto vector. Vector clear. So we're like navigating by waypoints. This is so interesting. I've thought this game was going to be amazing for a while. I personally wanted to wait a little bit until after some of the Subnautica fever had died down, and then Below Zero came out. And I still haven't played Below Zero, but I have gone back and played Subnautica, and of course uploaded some of those videos here to the channel. And I love Subnautica still. I think it's one of the best survival games ever made for non-hardcore survival, for exploration. And even the couple of things that it does that seem somewhat lazy or unconnected or take away from it having kind of a perfect plot, I think completely work for the type of game it is. And it has a really interesting history, but we're not here to talk about that today. If you want a video on that, let me know. Or go find someone else's. Lots of people have made videos on Subnautica. It's a really good game. But this game, I've had this in my library ever since it went on sale for the first time for at least 50% off, and I'm also playing this at about midnight, and this is amazing. If you're liking this so far, I know it's only been a couple minutes, go buy this game, go support the developers, and most of all, go have yourself a nice, relaxing, fun time. But if you're having yourself a nice, relaxing, fun time anyway, stick with me, and we're actually going to play this. I'm going to stop going on bunny trails. Gully opening feature. Here the passage opens out, back into the dappled light of the reef's shadows. Plot a vector. Vector clear. So I think this is how much power we're using, and this is our total power. Oxygen doesn't seem to be running out at all in the total, but power does seem to be, so. Some assumptions here. Soft currents. The softly flowing water is filled with glittering particles of organic matter, signs of rich and thriving life all around. So if this was voice acted, oh, another bunny trail, I know. But if this was voice acted, it'd be nice to have a very human sounding voice for the pilot. And then a much more robotic, but still friendly, you know, soft, friendly voice, maybe like a slightly deeper voice, to read things like this. Perhaps you can imagine that. Just oh, we're gonna need help. I need help with this. I can't access any systems of the suit. You'll have to help me. And then you have this kind of slightly robotic, not like a GLaDOS, but like a very slightly robotic voice. Like the Turing test, the voice actor from the Turing test going, the softly glowing water is filled with glittering particles of organic matter, signs of rich and thriving life all around. Something like that. That would add a ton to this game. And if I weren't so lazy, I mean busy. If I weren't so busy, I mean lazy. And also, if I hadn't only played this for 5 minutes, look in the water. Are those spores? In those stalks to the west, they look like huge fungi. This is unbelievable. Actual alien life. How could Minnie have kept this place a secret? I saw her notes at the base when I landed, and some telltale signs on approach, but here it is. The first extraterrestrial life humanity has ever discovered. I can't believe it. I don't know. It'd be super interesting to see a playthrough of this game, but hire some amateur voice actors, just to read the text and just have that play at the appropriate time. I don't know how moddable the game is. That would be even harder to mod, but just to have a video, like a playthrough of that, I think that'd be fabulous. For now. Ooh. Okay, I assume these are waypoints. What are these? Bed of stalks. Creature. Fungal creature made up of a series of stalks and plates attached to the rock. Color ranges from dark amber to acid yellow. These stalks are beautiful. I wonder how they feed, how they grow, how they communicate. This place, this planet needs to be studied. Keep scanning creatures and I'll keep notes. Once we've gathered enough data, I can name and log each species. No matter what happens here, this is vital work. I wonder if there's anything I can do here. Nothing yet. I assume I can actually like collect samples at some point, but it's probably going to tell me when I have the option to do that. I think for now I'm mostly just studying things, and I can't plot my way to these. I think I can just scan them. Another bed of stalks. This creature's external membrane appears to be made of layers of chitin? Chitin? I think it's chitin. That's definitely wrong. I wish I knew how to pronounce words. Like earth arthropods or fungi. Strange stalks object, not creature. Beds of these creatures coat the pale rocks. Are these plants or animals? They are unlike any earth coral or sponge. Interesting. Yeah, I can totally see why a marine biologist would just love this game. Just brand new things to see and explore. Even though, I mean, you have that in the ocean too. But for a video game, I love this. Southern Nursery. Protected by ridges from the protected by the ridges from the strong northern currents, this could be a safe haven for younger, softer species. Interesting. Okay. Can head towards the Southern Nursery. Noises! What were those creatures? They were hidden among the stalks. Quickly, try to get a scan. Oh, they left. Oh, there's one. Agile creature. Striped with luminous colors, these flexible, flapping creatures move rapidly through the water with little effort. These are such lively creatures and so colorful too. I'll start logging my observations. I love things like that, hearing things being described as colorful where all you can see from them are these still very pretty but minimalistic dots on a screen. I just, The imagination warms my heart. Bed of Stocks creature. I'm seeing a complex pattern of contracting and expanding slits in this stalk's membrane. Mouths or sensing organs? Good question. These colonies are producing a shifting hum. Perhaps it is a form of communication between individuals. Among these spore-clogged stalks are piles of small stones. Could a creature have gathered them here? Or just the currents? So many questions, I love it. Plot a course towards this vector. Towards... And I do love the map where you can see here that you get all this information about creatures and specific waypoints and all this kind of biological data. I'm in position. You'll have to take the sample. Open up the sampling utility. Ooh. Wait, this is exciting. But you only get it within this circle, which is like the scanning circle, and the rest of it's just the map we have on record, and that's so cool. Alright, sampling available. Ah, there we go. Fungal seed. 5% of something and 0% of something else. We're not going anywhere until you take a sample, I know. Alright, so we close both of those. And then we've got one. Biological samples are vital tools for analyzing and understanding creatures. A stalk spore. Ah, fungal 5%, seed 0%. But this suit should allow you to deploy any sample back into the ocean. Is that what we want to do? How about you test it out? Hold and drag it over the central compass. Ah, great, that's working as it should. Okay, hold and drag. Broke the fourth wall a little bit. Tiny bit. Didn't need to have that. Everything else so far is amazing. Look, those creatures are coming for the spores. Wonder why these ones in particular. Perhaps different spores carry different compounds, each with a specific purpose or message. These creatures appear to maneuver with a series of siphon jets concealed beneath their folded mantles. They are incredibly fast. What do you think? Could the spores be a way of communicating between different colonies? Could be. We are scientists. It isn't that strange. Fungi on Earth form networks of exchange. Maybe these stalks do the same. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I'm not sure why Let's keep moving. Yes, but more scans first. I'm seeing spores entering and exiting the slits on the surfaces of the stalk. Something is being exchanged. There's a silent clearing. What is it that dictates the reef's growth patterns? Sunlight? The flow of water? Whatever it is, it must be absent here. True. Spore flow feature. Spores from the main part of the reef are brought into the southern nurseries here by a steady current. Well, I believe we're supposed to head north still, so... Hey, can I ask you something? Affirmative. I've worked with AI programs before, but you aren't like them. They're predictable, programmatic, dull. Their intelligence allows them to log and process data. That's all. But you are different. I feel like you are alive? Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. Then you are different. I'm glad I'm not just imagining it. But what are you? And what are you doing in this suit? Well, if you've watched Soma or played Soma, I don't know if that's what's happening. It's just a theory. Northern Current. The current running into the reef slows here, but further north, the water whips down the rift with incredible speed. The colonies seem to be broken up into individual patches and then larger groups over a wide area. Interesting. Overgrown arch. This arch is covered in hardened stalks. Perhaps the slow current passing through brought their spores to settle here. And a long rift. Wide and long, with sheer rock walls on either side, this deep rift channels unpredictable currents. It does look, yeah. We could try going there. I'm not sure. It feels like this is a decent way to go, though. Nice and in the open. Ooh, a large stalk. Static creature made up of one huge flexible stalk. Unclear if swaying is due to current or is produced by the stalk's own body. These things are incredible, each its own ecosystem. They are leaking spores into the water as the fruiting bodies attached to their skin bloom. Cool. Many of these stalks are leaking particles into the water as they sway. Are these spores or something else? New species, reef stalks. Oh no, well, new species logged. We finally gathered all the data. I'm uploading my initial notes. Let's call these reef stalks. We can classify this species in the lab. Fungal creature with communicates through sound and spores, an interlocking ecosystem seeded across the reef. So cool. Ah, and it finished all the rest of them too, because some of these one of these I hadn't clicked on. These larger stalks sway all around this basin. They almost resemble branchless trees, bending in a storm. Did you see that? The stalks responded to our movement. They extended as we passed through the arch. Perhaps it was the sound we made when we moved through? We should be careful not to get trapped here. The suit's power capacity is limited. Maybe we do have to be careful about moving then. I don't think there's any, like, horror in this game. I don't think it's like a Sunless Sea or even a Subnautica where there's some level of we're deeply afraid of what's in the deep. But maybe there is. Exploration often goes hand in hand with... Deep sea exploration often goes hand in hand with the strange and unknowable. The chitin... I'm gonna hope that's right. Of the stalk's membrane is very hard, but flexibility is given by a surface of overlapping plates. I'd have a much better voice for reading that if I made myself a drink, but I'm not doing that tonight. Feeding grounds. There is a lot of activity among the rocks ahead. Creatures are grazing on, and living among the stalks, forming a complex ecosystem. Vector clear. Reversing. Look! Over to the southwest. That stock is totally calcified. Looks like a good sample candidate. Perhaps. The plates of the stock surface passing over one another must be producing the distinctive hum that can be heard. This huge stock is totally still, its plates hardened into a rocky shell. Can it be revived, or is this what death looks like here? A good question. Vector clear and sample candidate. Stock looks dead. Open up the sampling panel. Sample obtained. There's lots of dead material here, so we should be able to take multiple samples. Okay, so the chitin appears to be hardened with calcium carbonate. That could be useful if we need to boost our power. Ooh. Maybe there is a little bit of survival mechanics in here. That'd be fascinating. This suit is able to metabolize organic compounds to produce fuel. Just drag them to the power panel. Suit displays how much oxygen or power each sample can produce. No point wasting important samples. With these, we can keep one sample so we can analyze it back on base and use the other for power boost. Is that... Okay, so I think it'll produce that much power, which is only about half of that. No, it produced the entire thing. Okay, I'm not sure how much power it was supposed to produce then. But I suppose we will just keep the other one. These creatures must be related to the other stocks on the reef, but seem to have separate purpose to the lower beds. It's safe to assume that the singing of these stocks relates to the communication between colonies seen elsewhere on the reef. The space between the rocks here is thick with stocks. The elaborate patterns they trace across the reef are beautiful. Well, hi. Flitting around the reef, these creatures chase stock spores with great enthusiasm. Is this the primary food source? The rocks here are clear of stalks and other growths. Is their absence a territorial marker or just the side effect of the conditions of these waters? Cavern edge. A large cavern drops down into the reef here. Its entrance is shadowed by the surrounding rocks. I do kind of wish we'd kept that sample considering it could have fueled us more. It looked like it was only that much power, which was less than what we had, but perhaps I just missed something. Southern Cavern. The water is still in the yawning entrance to the cavern. There are no signs of stalks or other reef life around the entrance. Wonder if it'll make us... Ooh, descent. It's gonna make us descend here. Ooh. Oh, that's so cool, because we're in a cavern now, and so it's not going to show us all the topographical data on top of us. Oh, I love it. 28 meters. Not that far down. Stock patches. The patchy sunlight coming through the broken cavern roof is enough to allow stalks to grow here, if that is what they require. Tall stock. A tall, bubble-coated stalk which sits among reef stock colonies covered in wide, irising pores. These tall stalks seem to watch over the smaller colonies. I'll start logging notes. Glittering stalk, sample candidate. Soft sunlight spills down into a long, thin stalk, stretching toward the light. A coating of large, glassy bubbles glitters on its skin. I do like a good sample candidate. 10% signal. How's this one looking? Let's try this one first. I really do love the UI a lot. These gaseous bubbles are intriguing. You know what signal means? There's fungal tissue, and this is lichen. Lichen and signal. The interior gas, elevated pressure, membrane ruptured, sac would pressurize. Is this part of the stock communication system we've seen across the reef? Wait, I have an idea. Try deploying one by that blocked tunnel over there. I want to see how the stocks react. Just drag one over. Oh, we can deploy all the way inside the line. I didn't know there was something blocked. Wait, let me scan first. Is this blocked? Clogged tunnel, yes. Ah, covered in stocks, okay. Whoa. They retracted. These bubbles must be some kind of signal system. I'll call them shrill sacs for that squeak. Interesting. So at 10% signal. Oh, this is so cool. This is not like a puzzle game. I guess this is like a survival exploration game, right? Where there's very minimal survival mechanics, at least namely so far only power. But it's not just a point and click adventure. Very cool. A lot of vector. Blind corner. It's hard to see the way ahead. Suppose we'll have to go to the corner. So I guess you are wondering where we are heading. There's a way station just north of here, on a finger of this reef. I want to find it. My shuttle touched down just hours ago at a floating research base to the south. That's where I found this suit. I'm here looking for Dr. Mine Nomura, chasing a message all the way from Earth. I must sound mad coming out here to a planet in the tail of Scorpius just to follow a message. Wait, you do know where we are, don't you? But how? We're on Gliese 667cc, a supposedly unremarkable world. If it wasn't for all this life, somehow the exoplanet extraction core must have passed it by. But how did Mine know to come here? Is that why she contacted me? To verify her discovery? But then, where is she? Look, let's just find that way station. Then I can start piecing together what's going on. As you wish. Thin passage. The cavern narrows here and small eddies of water swirl in the silt. Vector clear. Engaging. Current can be felt, drifting through the cavern entrance, bringing with it warm clouds of silt. Ascent possible. Beginning ascent in 3, 2, 1. Sorry, I like my references, and that was a BioShock Infinite reference. It's also just, it's kind of fun engaging with the idea that I'm some sort of AI / possibly conscious / something, but I'm just living the suit. My job is to control the suit or something. Tall stalk. Stalks of this kind seem to produce different bubbles depending on the nearby stalks. They're the protectors of their colonies. Large clearing. I can't help but feel some unseen process is shaping the growth patterns of this reef. What invisible borders am I crossing? Technically, okay, and I maybe just noticed this. that all of these are being signed off as this. So technically, this is me, the AI, reading the observations that the pilot has made. So they could be in her voice, but they also still could be like she's typing them down or something, and then I have like an internal voice that reads them out loud to me, or not out loud, but like out loud to the player. This thin stalk sits among a bed of other growths, exuding bright bubbles through its pores. Sample candidate, glittering stalk. Oh, also there were a lot of other samples that we didn't take before. And I don't know if I want to take like every sample that's possible, or if I want to just leave some. I feel like I should leave some. But I mean, I only have so much space anyway. Okay, so these are signals. This just has fungal for it. Ah, also, okay, so fungal, which is the 3, can be used for power. I don't know why oxygen is 2 things. I assume because it's O2. But power is C3H8O3. So I don't know why that's just 3. I mean, there's C and there's H and there's O, but anyway, it's a little silly. But okay, so signal qualifies, or maybe could be used for oxygen. I'm assuming at some point we'll need to fill up oxygen as well. And this can be used to fill up power, but like, yeah, how much? See, when I do that, it has that pink. I don't know if pink, maybe pink is how much gets wasted? Maybe that's what it's trying to say. I'll assume so. Rock outcrop. The scattered boulders and steep rifts of the southern reef suggest a violent geological past. The rock wars caused many casualties. Sing stalk. Large stalks which sway, producing a distinctive hum or groan, part of the network of stalks which is found across the reef. I've named these sing stalks for that strange hum they produce. I wonder what its precise function is. Isolated stalk. Unlike the other specimens, this large stalk sits alone, away from the lower beds. It's hard to tell if this is the beginning of a colony or the end. Interesting, this kind of just exits scan view. I don't know if that's really ever necessary to do, but... Shelled creature. Mobile creature with a large translucent shell, and 4 swimming appendages, which it uses in a rapid rowing motion. These creatures have such beautiful translucent shells. I'll start logging data on them as soon as we find them. Stalk passage. The stalks are more sparse between the rock outcrops. This might be the easiest path north, if I can clear the way. But of course, vector clear. Ah, here might be where we have to clear the way. This is probably not the easiest path forward. The relative calm of this basin means the water is clogged with spores released by larger stalks. See, okay. And part of this is I don't know how much exploration to do, because a lot of exploration games that are more particularly open world, like Subnautica is technically open world. This feels kind of open world. I feel like I could just completely retrace my steps to the beginning. So in some sense that's open world, but it also feels pretty linear. Like, from any given point, like there is only one path to take back, really. We normally don't have many options. The stalks here are so thick, sea of amber waving fingers that must be cleared, so... Question here is, does the game want me to go down here to, like, explore? Or is this just the long way around, like, if I didn't do this? In other words, is it more correct to use the samples we collected to clear a path, Or is it more correct to go the long way around because that lets us explore more? I don't know. I'm inclined to say use the things. See, that to me that says it only gives us that much power, but it totally filled it up last time. Right? That's saying like it gives us 15% power, which is like how much that is. I don't know. I'll just wait till I need more power. I think I just want to try that. Take a signal, drop it here. Ooh, another shell creature. These creatures glide among the reef's stalks with great care and precision. They appear to be grazing on them. So cool. Like, yeah, I think Into the Deep Forest really is kind of the way it wants me to go. Navigating these dense growths is like finding your way in a labyrinth, moving from clearing to clearing with little sense of what's ahead. So true. Is that clear? I think that is clear. Barely, but that is clear. Another shell creature. A delicate set of feeding appendages beneath the creature's shell seem to scrape the outer membrane of the stalks away. Occasionally, when the creature scrapes the stalks too aggressively, they retract and let out a defensive signal to nearby colonies. Interesting. Some creatures target these tall stalks directly, perhaps because they keep them away from other softer stalks nearby. Glittering stalk sample candidate. I believe the glitterings are... yes, the bubble ones. How do they produce this strange sacs? Well, if I need more samples, I kind of may as well fill this up now that I'm actually using these. Sampling available. I was kind of just trying to save room, but I feel like we may as well collect at least most of these, if not all of them. I think there's 3 available on this particular one. Yeah, so I'll collect the 2 and we'll see what we can do with this. Scan. Signal stock is what we're calling them now. Tall, bubble-producing stalks that protect and monitor stock colonies, a key part of the network. I'm going to call these signal stalks for the signaling role they play in the stock ecology. Also, as someone who studied global ecology in school, this speaks to me in many ways. I'm really liking this game. It's really relaxing. I would love it more if there was voice acting. Other than that, this is super cool. This is the exact kind of stuff I want out of the indie sphere. I mean, there's some really high level games that almost battle AAA games in some sense, like Team Cherry's Hollow Knight. That's like the really high end of indie games where it's like, you know, this is better than everything else that's being put out right now. This is incredible. But then there's stuff like this that's simpler. It doesn't seem completely super well optimized. It's not really lagging, but it doesn't feel insanely smooth either. I'm not really getting a buttery like 144 or anything. But it's cool. Vector blocked. Glittering stock. Another sample candidate. More bubble-producing stocks. Are they sentries designed for early warning or last-ditch defenses of the colony's core? Oh. Fair path. I mean, I kind of have enough for now. I think the game is always going to put the things I need near where I need them. It's not really like a puzzle. It's more like Um, it's another reason to understand the ecosystem, right? Here are these things that react to other things, and I'm learning about and exploiting their behavior as I understand it better in order to progress. And that's really cool. But I think that's kind of the whole point. Tolerance for the creature scraping the stalks. They only warn the creature when it cuts too deeply. We're calling them stalk scrapers. Yeah, apt. A large creature with a translucent shell and jointed legs for swimming and feeding, grazes on the membranes of reef stalks. I'm naming these stalk scrapers for obvious reasons. You can check my notes back at base. Spore clusters, sample candidate. Spores from the stalks seem to be massing in large clumps. Might be a good place to sample them. Well, I do kind of want one more sample. And the vector is clear, albeit barely. I think these are the power samples essentially. Yep, 5% fungal. But we could use a couple more. My inclination, I don't know if these kind of respawn, if they're, if we leave an area and come back, or if we use them all, will it just produce more? I feel like it might, otherwise we might get soft locked, right? By like wasting all of our resources, so it probably does. But my inclination as an ecologist is to say, if you have 3 examples of a species, don't take all 3. don't just remove them all. Remove what you need, which is maybe 1. Maybe remove a second one because it'll probably be fine. But the third, I just want to leave it there. Ooh, no, these are different. This was a stalk bark, which is 15%. That's a lot. These are shrill sacks. Yep. These are just stalk spores. So I assume, yeah, this should be a small amount of power. No, that did actually look like about 5%. Interesting. So I don't know why this one was so much. Maybe I just totally misunderstood something when I did that. Let's assume that's the case. Oh, I missed that one. I find it so fun that you can just like arbitrarily zoom in and just look very slightly closer. Another agile creature. Or a different agile creature. This is not a scraper. These creatures aggressively pursue certain spores but ignore others completely. Oh, these ones don't have the 4 appendages. These ones have the in-body jets. Well, I think I want to go back this way and then up north. Assume there's another waypoint. This one. These 2 boulders are covered with tiny stalks, a coating of amber fur waving in the currents. Twin stones. We are in between the twin stones. The last line of thick stalks before the sandy plains of the central reef. It is blocked, so deploy a signal, clear a path. That's it, we are through. This place is overwhelming. So many new species. I mean, it has only been like a couple very similar ones and then one different one, but this is the central reef. I saw on Minnie's maps that the shelf flattens out here. Rippling silt. Ripples of silt bounce sunlight back up through the water, giving it a golden... kind of want to head this direction. I don't know if this is just the long way around or... like there's something over here. Even though it's not north. Shady outcrop. That's cool. I also feel like we didn't really explore that one random trench near the beginning. Piled stones. I should read it. I'm just a little bit curious to see what's over here. Another agile creature. The relationship between these creatures and the Snox is unclear, but they camouflage themselves among the amber colonies, so they just live there? Upper forest. This isn't a forest, but it carries an atmosphere of one, being immersed in interlocking national processes of life and death. Okay, so there really isn't, I guess, upper forest, which I feel like we went to the upper forest. I could be wrong, though. And then just all of these. That's why I'm like, I don't know how much to explore. I can totally understand why the game wants it to be somewhat linear. Because in the game like Subnautica, it's really easy to say like this is an area because certain species are found there and certain plant species, and because of that, like the lighting and the coloration, it's just like super distinct and it's at a certain depth. And Subnautica does a lot of amazing design choices as a result of the many years in public beta. Really cool. Again, if you want me to talk about Subnautica, I'd be more than happy to. But I'm going to explore a bit, but unless it has an obvious path off the beaten path, I'm not going to go too far. Alright, I'm just going to go a little bit further, and then we'll probably call it for this episode. It's about 1 now, and I should be getting to bed. And I don't know if this is just like a 2-hour game or like an 8-hour game. I assume it's probably not more than 8 hours. It's probably somewhere around 3 to 6, but I don't plan on playing the entire thing today. Central Plain. The center of the reef is flat and sandy, with few rocks to attach to the stalks struggle to seed these waters. Comma there, but... There it is. I see the way station. Is that this? I see the way station ahead. I wasn't sure if we were about to find it or if it was going to be just like another hour away. A way station set up by Mine Nomura. It's seen better days, but it still functions beneath the coating of stocks. So I wonder if this is going to recharge my suit or not. Like if that's something to keep in mind, or if research, like, can we do different things here? This place is looking a little worse for wear. Let me see if I can find an access port. Mine never did take care of her equipment. Some things never change. Sorry, give me a sec. I'm just trying to... Got it. Okay. We should be able to access any data stored here. Just open up the terminal and take a look. Spoofing user, Dr. Mine Nomura. Last access history cleared. Log download? Y/N. I want to say yes. Okay, we're fully powered. Oh, and then that recharges by itself too. Nice. Fully oxygenated. Map data. A bunch of numbers. Possibly coordinates. Tends to be my assumption when it says map data and I'm looking at numbers. Sync complete. Data released to pilot's console. Logs have been cleared. I expected that, given the secrecy Mine seems to be operating under. But the map data mentions something Mine calls the Bloom, out across the northern rift. She's been going back and forth to something there, studying it. A unique species, perhaps? Mine, what were you doing here? Why were you keeping this discovery from the world? From me? I'm talking to myself again. Or to... whatever you are. Sorry, I don't mean... Let's just head back to the research base. I need to think. With this way station operational, we can call in the base's retrieval drone from the utility panel. This drone will be able to pick us up from any area we've got map data for. Let's head to the base. I've got a lot to figure out. Okay, interesting, because I assume we're going to go back to the base, and I don't know. It's probably going to just bring us back here after that. I kind of want to see what these 3 things are first. But I feel like if I leave them and then I have us come back, we'll know that we haven't explored them. That's probably the thing to do. Okay. Link. Connecting. You've got our data. You know where we are. Connection complete. Drone ready. Request retrieval. Transitioning. Safe mode. Restarting. Yeah, after all of this. Syncing with Bakel OS. Whoa. Hey, are you back online? Affirmative. Pretty sharp work for a biologist, if I do say so myself. Hooking up that strange casing of yours to the base took some work. And the OS here does not play nicely with whatever you are. But you should have access to select subsystems of the stack now. Mene looks to have repurposed some of them, so not everything is functional. Comms are shot. The generator is only partially working, and one of the retrieval drones is missing. But I booted up the dive... Retrieval drone's missing, that's interesting. I booted up the dive-based mapping systems and sample storage. The lab is also online with analysis tools and integrated taxonomy for logging creatures. Take a look. I've already logged the creatures we discovered on our last dive. For any logged creatures, I'll also put sample requests in their taxonomy entries. Suit, interesting. To fulfill these requests, just find and transfer the samples to the lab, then analyze them. Dive map is offline. Can then use that data to add the creature study. We need to register these species. Okay. Comms. Offline. Antenna damaged. Automatic repair not possible. Head down to the lab level and take a look. I'll also mark sample requests on the dive map. Habitat. User. Ooh. That way we can grab key samples for our studies while we're out in the ocean. And we are going back out soon. While you were offline, I spotted a signal, a suit transponder. Ooh. Interesting. See, this is where also voice acting would be so good, because then I could kind of read this silently while listening to what's happening. Because it feels like she's saying, go do stuff, and because there's so much dialogue here. So much monologue. You can see its location on the dive map. A suit transponder means a suit, right? This would be great for listening to this while I'm kind of browsing through non-textual menus. I'll need your help. That suit takes both of us to pilot it, and it's the only one I've got. Once you're done exploring the base, load into the dive map. We can head out from there. Mene is gone, and she's left behind one hell of a mess. The base is falling apart, cannibalized to build way stations out in the ocean. The communications array sliced away, life support failing. Where did she even commandeer this research base from? There is no way Bakel would have supplied it willingly after what she did to them. What did she call me out here for? To witness her disappearance? Or did she simply want me to encounter, as she did, the impossible life of this ocean? How could it have gone ignored for hundreds of years of exploration and conquest? There are too many questions to even begin. All I can do is keep an account of what happens here, so that if I can't answer these questions, someone else might. It'll be weeks, maybe months, until the next ship passes close enough to pick up my shuttle transponder. Until then, I'm alone. This place is unbelievably important. Our first contact with life beyond Earth. But something else is happening here too, and I need to know what it is. Very cool. Life support looks halfway okay for now. We have the sample store. Lab. Activated. Nothing in here yet though. Taxonomy. Animals. Stock scraper. Observations. I mean, we did just look at their observations. This is all... doesn't seem to be too new, because we just did observe all this behavior. Food sample analysis requested. theories, shell sample analysis requested, sketch study completion required, and then we can skip. Oh, that's so cool. Wait, there's so much. Oh, there's so much we can discover here. Spores. Oh, we didn't even bring a spore. I should have brought a spore sample back. I was thinking about it as I used up the last one. I was like, oh, this is just worth 5%, but it's only worth 5% when we don't have a sample. We really could have used that sample, and the power was free. As soon as we got to the base, we filled up our power. Okay, I think we need to bring samples down there. Medbay, no subject. Generator active, 34% efficiency. Tidal turbines, that's acceptable. Observation, sonar is inactive. Okay. So if we go to Hab, I'm not entirely sure why Evie is there. Unless that's just saying that's where she is. Probably. Don't want to go to dive map yet. We do want to go to Hab. Now we want to go to Bay. Sample store. And I think it said just drag these into lab? Into base. And now we can go down to the lab. To the sample laboratory. Stock bark. In analysis. Lab analysis complete. Multiple taxonomy entries updated. Cool. I assume that means we can just take it back out with us too, now that it's been analyzed. We go back to Bay. Okay, and like if we check in the lab, okay. It says we can't use them anymore, so I assume we just take them back out with us. Because why not? What do we have in the lab now? Ooh, new behavior. Okay, behavior. Analysis of stock bark shows that it is chitin-based as suspected, containing glucose and high levels of polysaccharides. This makes it an ideal food source for the scrapers, but not only this, it makes stock membrane a vital substance for lichen scraper shell formation. The more stock membrane consumed, the larger and thicker a scraper shell will become, which explains the variance in scraper shell size and translucency. Going further, shells may also be markers of a stock scraper's importance within the community. A larger shell means a more effective grazer and therefore a preferable partner. Okay, no natural selection, yeah, I see it. Further analysis of scraper shells is needed to continue this line of inquiry. So we still need a shell analysis for those. Reef stock, we don't have anything from that, but sing stock behavior. Analysis of the stock bark sample has given some new insights into the sing stocks. Their entire biology is compressed into the chitin plates that surround each specimen. They're completely hollow. In fact, rather than being a single large stalk, sing stalks are actually many spirally entwined stalks, which weave together to form a pillar-like shell. The scraping of these stalks as they move against one another produces the stalk's harmonic hum, which may not be a form of communication with other colonies as first thought, but instead a kind of internal metronome. They are to synchronize the movements of each individual stalk within the weave of stalks. But if the sing stalks are the bark that surrounds them, this brings with it a new question. What do sing stalks contain? Further analysis is needed. Tissue sample requested. Single stalk. Shrill-sac laboratory analysis shows that they are formed from a coating of mucus sealed around a pressurized mix of oxygen and carbon dioxide. The oxygen shows that the signal stalks are able to absorb oxygen from their surroundings, perhaps through their large pores. Meanwhile, the CO2 must be the result of a fermentation process within the stalk itself. This suggests the presence of a fungal symbiote similar to yeast within the stalk, and the possible production of ethanol as a byproduct of this process. The tissue sample will be necessary to confirm this. Shrill-sac production, meanwhile, seems to be a precise art. The pressurization, gas mix, and size of each shrill-sac can differ from stalk to stalk, meaning that warnings can be directed to particular colonies and even individual stalks if necessary. Tissue sample required. Very, very cool. Alright. I am going to save and quit to menu here. Also, there are shortcuts, which I did not know. Space to scan, control to scan off, and W to set heading or move. Which is interesting, but I'm not sure how, well, considering you still have to click on things, like each destination, it makes sense to just kind of use your mouse for everything, but you do also hit scan pretty much every single time you get somewhere. I might try using them, see if I like it or not. But thank you for watching this first episode of... what's this game called? Beneath the Waves? In Other Waters. Thank you for watching this first episode of In Other Waters. Let me know if you like this game. I like it. I think I'm going to be doing episodes of this. I'm also doing episodes of Orwell, Keeping an Eye on You, which is a very different but also fairly relaxing game. These are the kinds of games I find very easy to record videos on. It's much harder with larger games and AAA games where there might be a lot of grinding or a lot of just trying to get through a section. Certainly things like roguelikes don't tend to make themselves good candidates for them. But indie games like this that nobody has ever played, at least nobody I have ever met, I love games like this, and I hope you do too. So thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.